They say some buildings die with dignity, their walls collapsing into dust, their names fading from memory. But not Wexler State Hospital. Its doors closed in 1894, yet its silence has never been empty. For over a century, the locals of the Appalachian Valley have spoken of whispers that seep through its chained wards, of spirals drawn in chalk that reappear no matter how many times they're scrubbed away, of a chair bolted to the floor in a room that should not exist. Wexler has devoured generations, patients, doctors, scientists, even thrill-seekers chasing proof for their cameras. The building consumes not only bodies, but memory itself. Journals blur into repeated phrases, photographs twist when you look at them twice, and recordings dissolve into static, leaving behind only one message that has echoed since the 19th century. It still listens. Tonight, we step into that silence, not to gawk at a ruin, but to follow the thread of a story that refuses to die. We'll walk the locked ward where faces shift on the walls. We'll listen to the tapes that should never have recorded voices, and we'll trace the final days of those who dared to document its horrors. And here's the truth that chills more than any phantom sighting. By hearing this story, you are already inside Wexler. Because legends like these do not need you to step across their threshold. They only need your attention. So lean closer. Listen carefully. But remember, when the whisper comes, it will call you by name. Before we descend deeper into this forgotten hospital and uncover the truth of what was left inside its locked ward, take a moment to subscribe to Ledger of Shadows. Here, we walk together through history's darkest ruins, through tales that were buried, silenced, or erased. Each week, we bring you another story where the past is not dead, it's only waiting. So if you dare, join us. And remember, every story you hear, here listens back. When Wexler State Hospital first opened in the late 1800s, it was meant to be another stone fortress of modern medicine. But its doors were locked for good in 1894, a mere generation after it was built. The official story spoke of funding, of poor conditions, of a facility that failed its purpose. Yet locals knew there was another reason. They said patients whispered of a ward that never appeared on the blueprints, chained shut from the inside, its oak door scarred with claw marks. Decades later, in the 1970s, a group of university students broke in. At first it was the same as every abandoned ruin: graffiti, broken tiles, crumbling wards where the wind howled through shattered glass. But then they reached the locked door. Its rusted chains fell with a single push, as if waiting to be opened. Inside, they found the chair, bolted to the floor, stained with something darker than age, facing a wall where spirals were scrawled in soot. The walls themselves seemed alive, faces pushed against plaster, mouths moving in silence. One student swore he heard his own name spoken from the cracks. Another collapsed, screaming of children singing in a language he didn't know. When they stumbled out, they swore never to return. The story spread through the campus like wildfire. Some laughed, others demanded proof. But one thing was certain: Wexler's silence had been broken. The locked ward was no longer a rumor. It was real, and it was waiting. Curiosity soon turned official. County investigators entered Wexler, documenting everything on bulky VHS cameras. What they found should have silenced the rumors. Instead, it deepened them. The tapes warped, voices whispered through static, and equipment failed without reason. On one recording, a man sits in the chair while unseen voices chant. Minutes later, the film jams, heat warps the plastic, and the machine bursts into smoke. Another reel captured dozens of voices rising in chorus, repeating a single phrase: "Not Rosnes." The county declared the study inconclusive. Equipment malfunction, they said. But privately, the team resigned. Some never spoke of it again. One, years later, admitted in a trembling interview, "We didn't measure the hospital. The hospital measured us." Wexler's legend should have ended there. The doors were sealed again. Files were buried. But silence cannot hold forever. And Wexler, if the whispers are true, does not sleep. In the 1990s, descendants of Wexler's original doctors uncovered a different truth. Dr. Emmeline Crane's diaries revealed the hospital had never been a true asylum. It was an experiment. Patients weren't treated, they were studied. The locked ward was no accident, but a vessel. Crane wrote of whispers that were not hallucinations, but messages, of patients whose dreams synchronized, of chalk spirals drawn by hands that bled. She warned, Wexler listens. It measures. It remembers. Paranormal researchers found these journals and pressed deeper. They set up in Wexler, recording every hour. But soon they began to dream the same dream. The oak door opening, the chair waiting, voices chanting their names. One doctor tried to go public. Within days, her body was found, lips blackened with ash. Her notes ended mid-sentence. The pattern was clear. Wexler was not a ruin. It was a listener, and those who tried to expose it became its next silence. By the 2000s, Wexler had entered the age of the internet. Message boards swarmed with rumors. Urban explorers came armed with cameras, Ouija boards, bravado. Some returned with shaky footage, graffiti, broken beds, echoing halls. Others vanished entirely. In 2005, 3 men uploaded footage of themselves daring each other to enter the locked ward. Their last words were, "Do you hear that?" The video cut to black. Their car was later found abandoned, gear inside, doors locked from within. Their bodies were never recovered. In 2008, investigators captured a chilling EVP. Dozens of voices speaking in unison, the name of one man. Months later, he drowned in his own bathtub. The coroner said suicide. His friends swore otherwise. They said his lips were black with ash. In 2016, photographer Daniel Crow posted images of the ward. One showed dozens of pale hands pressing against the inside of the walls. He swore he saw nothing when he took the photo. Within a week, Crow vanished. His camera remained, memory card empty. His images disappeared from the internet overnight. Those few who saved them whispered that the hands moved closer each time they opened the files. Wexler was no longer confined to its walls. It had learned to reach through lenses, screens, and memory itself. By 2019, even documentary crews approached Wexler with caution. One team camped outside, refusing to sleep in the wards. Yet even there, the voices came. Children calling. Chains dragging. One sound technician vanished from his sleeping bag, shoes and coat still inside. His footprints ended 5 feet from the tent. The project was abandoned overnight. Locals stopped approaching altogether. Farmers left their fields barren. Hunters swore animals avoided the woods. Police refused to patrol after dark. Yet every so often, new chalk spirals appeared on the walls, fresh faces screaming in silence. No hand was ever seen making them. And the phrase remained. On walls. In journals. On lips that had no breath. It still listens. Think of what this means. Wexler is not just a ruin. Not just a building. It is intelligence. Awareness. A listener. That explains why journals burn, tapes warp, photographs shift. Why explorers vanish with cameras still rolling. Why scientists resign, never to speak again. Why Rosna returned silent, lips trembling with a phrase he would never repeat. The hospital does not kill at random. It selects. It claims those who listen too closely. And if that is true, then every time this story is spoken, every time a listener imagines its corridors, Wexler grows stronger. And that brings us here. To you. Because you have listened. You have imagined the locked ward, the spirals, the whispers. And in doing so, you have already stepped across its threshold. So now, you face the same question as every explorer, every researcher, every patient before you. What will Wexler do with you? Maybe nothing. Maybe you'll close this video, laugh, and move on. But later tonight, when silence stretches too long in your house, when you hear your name whispered from an empty room, you'll remember this story. And you'll wonder if you listened too closely. If you want to keep walking with us into stories like these, the forgotten, the forbidden, the places where silence itself becomes predatory, then subscribe to Ledger of Shadows. Because some stories die when they're forgotten. But others, like Wexler, only grow stronger the more we remember. And now, you've remembered.